Ladies and gentlemen, hello from the MLG studios here in New York City, and welcome back to the Winter Season Showdowns. My name is axeltoss. I'm joined by axslav. We're currently watching a best-of-5 between MVP and Curious, where MVP is currently up 2-0, one win away from getting that spot at the Winter Championships in Dallas, Texas on March 15th. Speaking of which, it's coming up. You gotta start planning. Book your hotel, buy your pass. If you buy your pass online, you get 15 bucks off. It's 35 bucks instead of 50 if you buy it at the door. Of course, every single player who's winning these Winter Season Showdowns, they're going to be there in person. We're going to be there. A bunch of other awesome casters are going to be there as well. We got STARCRAFT 2, we got League of Legends, if you're into that, that's there as well, and of course, Call of Duty. It's going to be a spectacular event. If you're within 1,000 miles of Dallas, I want you there, or I'm going to be personally offended. So get your pass now. Also, there's a VIP pass available as well, so take advantage of that before they run out. Also, youtube.com/officialmlgsc2. Want to bring a little bit more attention to that. If you missed any episode of the Winter Season Showdowns, they are all here on this channel in full 1080p HD. There you see it, 45 videos. That's 45 games. They are all there. Nicholas, in 10 seconds, I want you to give me your favorite game that people should check out.
Thorazane vs. Sake Game 2 on Daybreak.
Thorazane vs. Sake Game 2, that is right here. It has a little bit of a jump in views compared to the other ones because it was epic. Check it out. Or I would have forgiven you if you said MVP vs. Curious Game 1, because that game was pretty awesome.
That was pretty awesome.
Or Game 2. This whole series has been pretty awesome so far. MVP displaying the power of the Hellbat, or yeah.
Mech play in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Game 1, actually, his Hellbat dropped at 0 damage. He didn't even land a single Hellbat. The Higers took it out, but he still did great just with the, the mass macro, the mass siege tanks. Just absolutely rolled through Curious there and game number 1. But you know what? That's enough talk about game number 1 and 2. Why don't we get right into game number 3 and check it out? Because Curious is on uphill battle. He's down 0-2, but he's got the chops to do it, I think.
Curious has some work to do. Definitely has some work to do. He's up against a guy who doesn't lose too much in MVP. Has a ridiculous number of championship victories in Wings Liberty. Considered one of the best Wings Liberty players, again, to ever play the game. But Curious having some awesome results thus far in Wings Liberty. But he has to win 3 in a row. He is your blue Zerg player in the bottom left-hand location. Startail Curious. Of course, Startail, such a powerhouse of players. Of course, Parting recently left, though. But still, they have an amazing roster, and their players continue to do well. Can Curious convert to victory? Must win 3 in a row. His opponent in the top left-hand location, 1 win away from getting that all-expenses-paid trips to the Winter Championship event in Dallas, Texas, starting on March 15th. Representing Team IM, he is MVP.
The map is going to be Whirlwind. This is a large, wide open map. I think that's good for Curious. If he can figure out a way to get a solid mid-game, he can mass expand and really work his counterattacks and his great utilization of all of these little small squads. We saw a little bit of that on Ohana with that small Mula squad. But, I mean, Whirlwind, he can do so much more with ground-based small tactical warfare. Ohana was so easy for MVP just to lock it down with siege tanks. The hard part is, for Curious, is going to be just getting to that stage. How can he deal with early Reapers, early Hellbat drops, early Widowmine pressure? I mean, and not to mention, there's still the age-old threat of an early Cloak Banshee.
Yeah. It's funny you call it age-old. I mean, it was so common not too long ago. And
it hasn't gotten any worse.
That's true. It's still a very good opening. Now, if we're talking about last game a little bit, like, the moment he went for that early speed, I think that might have been the moment he was doomed, in a certain sense. If you're investing in nothing but those lings early on, and you're facing off against Hellbat drops, not only can the Hellbats be microed, if they get damaged by the lings, but they do a ridiculous amount of damage to the speedlings. Now, if he had been able to scout a little bit earlier, perhaps putting down the static defense might have helped a little bit. Maybe a Spore. I mean, it doesn't require an Evo chamber anymore, but step 1 is finding out what your opponent is doing, and I don't think Curious was able to really recognize that until a little bit too late.
No, he wasn't. I mean, it's just a tough call because you want to get that speed in cases that Reaper contain. And, I mean, properly microed Reapers, we saw it in Last versus Sulky, could have absolutely devastated Zerg. I mean, MVP didn't do that much damage in the first game, but he still got that solid contain, and I think there were some missed opportunities with the micro in that first game as well. So, Curious really wants to get that speed to deal with that potential threat. But like you mentioned, there's not a lot of value against the Hellbat. So this game, he is going for that gas again. Let's see if he really focuses on speedings. He's only mining with 1 gas, so he's going to get a little bit slower than... or no, never mind, he already started. I'm just crazy. But the question is he going to go for that same fast Lara build? And if so, how's he going to deal with the potential Hellbat drop? Of course,
he scouted the second command center.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there still could be a Hellbat drop. It'll be a little bit slower though.
Yes, of course, a little bit slower could mean the difference between like 2 additional queens.
Oh yes, two extra queens, and if you scout it, you can position your queens to intercept it as it's coming in.
Yep.
And if you knock out that medevac quickly, then you can micro against the Hellbats. So it definitely is holdable, but it's just very tricky.
Yeah, killing the medevac should be a priority. I mean, we saw Curious try to prioritize that last time, but again, he lost so many queens before he was able to get that medevac actually down. Actually, game one he dealt with it fine. Am I remembering that correctly? I remember MVP went for that drop.
Yeah, he did. It was a little bit later in game 1. He did a Reaper expand. But yeah, when he went for the drop, Curious just had 3 Hydrotus, and he just killed the medevac before it even landed a single Hellbat.
Well, so, I think in the beginning, even before that. Like, I don't know. I'll have to go back and watch the VOD, but you can deal with it. Like, there are ways to deal with it. So people watching are like, oh, it's so imbalanced. I don't know how to deal with it. There are ways. And we're seeing MVP adding on a second factory here instead of a starport. So we might see some sort of, honestly, Hellbat tank timing push just pushing across the map. Of course, tanks don't require siege anymore.
He also just might be playing super defensively early on, potentially worried about early aggression. In fact, there's a whole crew of speedings, but the Hellions are poised on the high ground to protect that bunker.
Yeah.
And I mean, that would have been six SCVs down in the low ground sacrifice without those Hellions on the high ground. So very heads-up play of MVP to keep those on the high ground, not send them down to the low ground.
Just 3 Lings being sent in there from Curious. Pretty fancy play, but now we have 4 Hellions on the field. Blue Flame has been started here from MVP as well. SCV's trying to get knocked down, but here come the Hellions to try to protect their buddies. And now Curious is going to retreat those Lings a little bit, but he needs to identify what's happening here. And that's MVP. It looks like going for that mech play once again. His 2 factories researching Blue Flame. Might have an armory going down fairly soon. Adding on that starport and not really doing much with this barracks. So I think this is going to be a mech play from MVP.
The fact he's getting Blue Flame this fast is kind of interesting. Very few Terrans opt for Blue Flame over the army. Of course, Blue Flame only helps him in Hellion mode, not in Hellbat mode. But in Hellion mode, they're much faster, so they're able to run down drones a little better. They are weaker versus speedings, but I mean, either way, you're not too worried about speeding. So he's going to go for that drop. Meanwhile, Curious is going for the very fast speed of play.
Of course, doesn't have that third just yet. MVP might be able to identify what's happening here, seeing as how he's seeing nothing but Lings on the field. He's seeing a lack of a third base. And when you're seeing nothing but Lings, you know your opponent's probably accumulating a lot of gas. You can start guessing Mutas can be a threat. We have a Viking in production here from MVP. Could potentially go Overlord Hutting with that. Maybe get a little bit of scouting done as well. And there goes the third from Curious. Spire about 60% of the way done, and not much anti-air here from MVP. So we'll have to see how off guard he gets caught by these.
The question is, though, how much damage can these Hellions do? There's only a few speedings going for the surround, but with Blue Flame, they're dying so fast.
Oh, no. More and more Hellions coming in here, and drones trying to run again, but look at this. I feel like they are all going to fall. Curious making 24 Lings, but again, not the unit you really want against this type of play. And MVP might just win this in a matter of minutes. He's already up in supply 83 to 32. We have 25 workers killed. Sure, the Spire just finished, but he only has 300 gas, and he has no economy.
It's just not going to cut it. The rest of the drones going to go down. I mean, perhaps he could have cranked out a couple mutas, but there's no way a couple mutas would end the game. MVP could easily make Widow Mines. He already had a couple Marines out. I mean, it wasn't something that was going to end the game. But you know what was going to end the game? Blue Flame Hellions, man. MVP's beat a lot of Zergs with that build.
Another example of just not being able to scout what your Terran opponent is doing and paying for it dearly. I mean, maybe a safety Roachborn is worth getting a little bit earlier in the game just in case that happens, in case that push happens and you can use that gas you have saved up for mutas. It's probably a little bit more worth it to invest in a few Roaches instead of just dying straight up to those Blue Flame Hellions. But MVP, once again, constructing a brilliant build there, able to disguise what he's doing long enough where once those Blue Flame Hellions show up, there's nothing the Zerg can do.
No real response here. I mean, he had the medevacs to ferry them around Sag defense. Didn't even need it. Of course, the Hellions are more than enough to just mop up any speedings and a few queens there. That's a build Curious probably should have had an eye out for.
Yeah.
MVP's that a lot. Used it versus Life and in GSL finals a couple seasons ago several times. He's really well known for that build. Curious though, he had his mind on a Hellbat drop, thinking he could get the Mutas out in time to stop that.
Yeah.
Not quite in time to stop the Blue Flame run by.
MVP showing that he might be just as powerful in Heart of the Swarm as he was in Wings of Liberty. Taking the 3-0 over one of the best Zerg players in the world right now, I would say, in Wings of Liberty, in Star Tales Curious. Of course, he's currently round of 8 GSL. Very convincing road to that spot. But again, getting 3-0'd by MVP. Let's recap what's been going on this week so far. Creator with a very convincing 3-0 over Nesty. MVP taking revenge for Incredible Miracle for his teammate. Gonna get that spot to Dallas, Texas. 3-0ing Curious. Again, very convincingly showing how good Terran play can be. Zerg players in these Korean matches not having a good time.
No, they really aren't.
I don't think any Zerg has won in the Korean matches.
That is true. The only Zerg so far to win in the Europe, there's a couple. Stefano and
Bly.
Yeah, prevailed. But in the Korean players, it is not able to keep up. Of course, Koreans are so aggressive. They really, they focus on why play a 20-minute game. If I get an advantage, I'll end it soon. If I have new toys to play with, I'll use them at the start of the game. Terran and Protoss, of course, have all these new toys early on. Zergs have got to figure out how to deal with those new toys before they can get to the lair tech and use some of their own.
Yeah, MVP, very convincing 3-0 case. Let's show that graphic one more time so we know what's coming up. Of course, we got plenty of matches coming your way in the future. Of course, tomorrow is going to be Seed versus Sniper. The next day, Marine King versus Gumiho. And then, of course, Jokji versus Dong Ray Gu. So right now, if you're watching this on VOD, if you're watching this on stream, write it down, 5 p.m. Eastern every single day of the week. Perhaps you're watching this on VOD right now, and we're live right now with Seed versus Sniper. That's confusing in my mind to think about, but it could be the case. Twitch.tv/MLGSE2. Of course, head on over to youtube.com/official MLGSE2 if you missed anything. 1080p HD VODs available there, and be sure to drop a subscribe. That being said, that concludes today's version of Winter Season Showdown. Seed versus Sniper is going to be tomorrow. Coming up next, though, Rules of Engagement.
That's right, going to be analyzing the Creator versus Nesty games. Of course, it was a really interesting series. Protoss versus Zerg. We've seen go both ways so far in Heart of the Swarm in Europe. We had Rhett, Bly, and Stefano all prevail against Protoss opponents, but we've seen a lot of Protoss beat Zergs as well, particularly in the case of Creator versus Nesty. Coming up, I'm gonna analyze those games to see exactly what Creator did right, and a couple of things Nesty did wrong that let Creator defeat him so convincingly.
The best analysis in Heart of the Swarm currently existing right now is Rules of Engagement, and that's coming up next, of course. axslav, again, analyzing Creator versus Nesty. So, guys, stay tuned, and once again, congratulations to MVP taking the 3-0 victory over Curious. We'll see you in Rules of Engagement.